I read this thing yesterday about Whitney Houston and Kevin Costner and how Kevin Costner is was so obsessed with her. And I mean, same. Like, who wouldn't? I mean,
just shows the man has common sense.
If Whitney Houston and Kevin Costner got together, Kevin Costner would be marrying up, let's just say,
100%.
by like 1 million.
Yeah.
Factor of 1 million. But it was like this whole thing about how, like, when she died, he was like,
devastated,
a wreck. And
well, he didn't protect her. She really, this is a woman
it was
really
right there
had
in the title of the movie, and
had
he
real
did not
struggles.
do the job. I know.
Kevin, we blame you.
I'm glad we got to the bottom of that.
Clearly, it was your fault.
I mean, it's interesting, right? Because I feel like The Bodyguard was a seminal text for us.
So, everybody, you have cleverly discerned, but we are about to do a Bodyguard episode,
which, first of all, unreal that we haven't done one.
Unreal.
I keep checking.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like it's
wrong.
going to magically appear. Like,
because our producer has said to us for about a year, you should do a Bodyguard episode, and every time he does, it goes in one ear and out the other.
Because we've done it already.
This dummy doesn't remember that we already did one,
and then it became very clear that we have not done one, and so here we are.
Welcome everyone to Fated Mates. I'm Sarah McLean. I read romance novels and I write them.
And I'm Jennifer Prokop, a romance reader and editor.
And what were you going to say about Bodyguards?
The thing about that movie, though, is the longing in that movie, the angstiness of it. Like,
the poster.
Like, where's the kissing? Where is the, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, ugh.
There are moments in my life that I can, like, visually remember. Like, I remember where I was.
Yes.
And I remember what movie theater in Rhode Island I was in when I saw just the poster of the two of, come on. This is all before we get to the song. Dolly Parton and Whitney Houston together at last. A combo none of us saw coming.
I probably saw that movie 1,000 times. Anyway, yeah, maybe we've never done The Bodyguard because it's like, how do you live up to that?
I mean, it just feels like, I don't know. I want to dance with somebody.
This is not a Whitney Houston episode, but there have been since her death, I think a lot of like people who've like written really powerfully about, right? Like, so there's a New Yorker piece that talks about how, her, like the story of how she sang the Star Spangled Banner.
Wait, I don't know this story.
Oh, really?
I don't think so. Where did she sing the Star Spangled Banner?
So the thing that's amazing about her singing of it, Google. I was like, some big it wasn't like, a Cubs game. I don't remember. I mean,
she sang the national anthem at the Super Bowl.
At the Super Bowl. I was like, the Super Bowl or the Olympics or something,
everybody at home
right?
is like, at the fucking Super Bowl, Sarah.
Sarah, yeah. I was like, I kind of had a moment where I was like, was it the Olympics? No, it was Super Bowl.
It was in 1991.
Yeah.
I won't tell you how old I was then.
Okay, well.
Barely even born.
Yeah, well, I was born. Fine. The thing that's amazing about it is, it's a, okay, I don't know musical words, so everybody, sorry, but there's a point where, sorry, I don't know musical words at all. When she sings, like, The Home of the Free, she added, like, a note, I guess. And she talks in this article, it talks about how she like saw, I think, a video of like maybe Marvin Gaye singing the national anthem and was really like inspired by like sort of the addition of this note. And like this New York article, like sort of like really like weaves a really like kind of, it's a short piece. It's not a big long thing about how meaningful it was to have like the word free be highlighted, especially by a Black artist. It's really, right? It's really a terrific article. And so, I don't know. I just find that there are YouTube clips where people extract all of the music and you just hear her unfiltered vocals, right? I mean, and it's like things like that, because I have no musical training, that when I read them or when I hear them, it's just like, oh, she wasn't just like this like pop superstar. Like she was just a musical tour de force. Like her musical knowledge, like the way that she understood music was so just like above and beyond what like normies like me could even understand. So I do like reading or seeing some of those things because I feel like it just, I don't know, I find it very inspiring, even though and sad.
Yeah. So I have been Googling while you have been talking. And it is the #1 most memorable music moment in NFL history, according to the National Football League and Rolling Stone. And apparently was very powerful and like really struck a chord nationally also because we were in the Persian Gulf War at the same time. And terrorists had threatened to target the Super Bowl. So like there's a lot of like eyes on the Super Bowl, and it's
like a big American.
She did the job. Because you know what? Because of course she did.
Of course she did.
Because Whitney Houston does the job.
So the Bodyguard, the movie, anyway, the Bodyguard, the movie, like, listen, there was just like the Whitney Houston era was like really for real. And I remember just everybody, I mean, I Will Always Love You. It was just like everywhere. That soundtrack was everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
And I know it's a Dolly Parton song, but like there's no version. I mean, like Dolly too has notoriously said, like, there is no version other than the Whitney version now. Like, so sorry everyone, but that just is how it goes now. But also, like, she wrote about, I mean, there were a bunch of other songs original on that soundtrack, like, and they were, like, including Run to You, which I think probably I sang in my bedroom, like, 7,000 to 8,000 times that summer.
It's your hairbrush with your microphone hairbrush?
Yes. Probably with, like, a towel on my head to, like, make it seem like I had long hair.
Obviously,
because my hair was always tangled, so my mom made me cut it all off. And I mean, listen, now that I am a mother,
you're like, that was obviously the right thing to do.
Hairbrushing. But anyway, so this is my thing. Listen, we're not going to talk about a bunch of like old Bodyguard books, but I would say that like there is something sort of hardwired into the DNA of American romance connoisseurs.
Correct. From this moment. Yeah.
That comes from this moment.
Yeah, I would agree. It's great. Maybe I should rewatch it later.
Let's do it. I'm going to download it for the airplane.
There you go. Gosh, I'm always so afraid to like revisit those movies. I know. So, like some just like stay in the ether, and then like some just like go into the time capsule, and you're kind of like, oh. But I believe it's still great. I do.
But the reality is that, listen, I hate to spoil this 1992 film for all of you. However, the reality is that this film is not a romance.
No,
it is a love story. Because Frank they kiss, and then
that's that. He has to go do his bodyguard job, Sarah.
He has bodyguarding to do. For bodyguard reasons, he cannot stay. And so here's what I would say about that. It's probably written by a man. It is. It's written by Lawrence Kasdan. Look, now we're just a film podcast and listen, of course it's written by a man. Of course it is. Because a woman would be like, fuck this. Let me write this right.
Okay. If we were a movie podcast, first of all, it would be ridiculous. But like, what would our movie podcast name be? I had a great idea. Femme Fatales.
Oh, that's excellent.
Right? Fated Mates.
I love it.
Is our romance podcast name. But when we talk about movies, we're Femme Fatales.
Yeah. But basically, that would just be like, let's talk about Mad Max Fury Road again. It would be, here's what we do. We would have like 4 episodes. It would be like Mad Max Fury Road, Moonstruck,
The Bodyguard, apparently.
Obviously.
And then Pretty Woman.
And Pretty Woman. There it is. And those are the movies we would talk about until they release French Kiss on streaming.
Look, we just brought it right back. Okay. So anyway, we've never done a Bodyguard episode, which seems shocking to both of us. Now, we do have, I will point out, in our collections, we do have a Bodyguard collection from Caroline. And the thing that is kind of cool about this one is it is mostly historicals.
I mean, you know what? And that is a good thing because I think of Bodyguards as being historical. I had a
Do
lot of
you?
historical moments.
All
Well,
right.
yeah, I mean, because I came through historical. Galen Foley's Princess
Sure.
is a terrific
That's on there.
one.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, of course it is. I
Of
mean,
course
it's
it is,
classic,
right?
right?
Yeah.
A classic. And then I have a couple that I think are worth noting historical wise. But you know why? Because here's the thing, and here's the other thing that I would say. There's that Julie Garwood where there are a lot of bodyguards in romance, right?
Yes.
Like, so whether or not they're heroes, this is a separate thing, but like there are all the ones, for example, where all the medievals where like the heroine is taken from England and then brought to the hero who is a Scottish laird, or even better, intended to be brought to the hero who's a Scottish laird, but instead falls in love with the bodyguard on the way because she is wrapped in his kilt in the cold rain.
I mean,
and he's sleeping with like one hand on his broadsword, not a euphemism. And
we're back to
and then
Fated Mates,
she
everybody.
puts one hand on his broadsword. Yes, euphemism.
And that's the book. And now the book is over. And now story time is over. And then they thatch a roof. Okay, so
and then they thatch a roof.
Now, I will make sure the link to this Bodyguard collection is there because what's really great about it actually is it's 10 books and there's a couple historicals and a couple contemporaries and a couple romanticities. Like it really does like give you a really broad view of the bodyguard through a lot of different subgenres. So if you're kind of like, a bodyguard romance, that might be something I would enjoy. I've never seen such a thing. Then you could start here along with whatever fine titles we will be.
But because I did not put Galen Foley on my list, but I do feel that I need to speak to Princess for just a moment.
Okay, fine. You may.
Because as everybody who has seen us live knows, although it didn't listen, we broke the trend. Because we did not talk about breastfeeding at Fated Mates Live in St. Louis. And that is probably because, like a Midwestern romance hero, I don't know.
Never, yeah.
I don't know if he would never, but he certainly would never allow it to be discussed in public.
Sure. Now, meanwhile, Eric was like, I've been listening to the audio. Apparently the audio of Fated Mates Live does exist and he's been listening. And I've been like really wanted to be like, but do you get to the Midwestern romance hero part yet?
No, he's very worried. He's like trying to figure out like the sound, how to clean the sound up.
Of course.
Listen, everybody, I think we're going to release that during the
hiatus.
Hiatus. Anyway, but let me tell you about my experience with Princess and why it is also a seminal text for me. So aside from the fact that like, okay, so the heroine of this book is a princess. Her name is Serafina. She is like a totally spoiled brat. And the hero is Darius. Oh, Darius, the king's most trusted soldier.
Of course.
And he's also like a assassin, and he's also like the head of the guard, and he's also like beautiful and charming and perfect in every way. The problem is he has wanted Serafina forever.
Of course.
Like, forever. But he can't have her because he's like garbage. He's garbage on her shoe. And she is a princess, right? And like, but basically he's just like pledged himself to be her bodyguard forever. And like, he's like, I'll never love another woman. Like, I'm just like, now this is me. I'm like a statue. I have everything I have is for her. And she is also like she like is obsessed with him, has been obsessed with him since her childhood, but like they obviously can't have each other for a million reasons. Anyway, listen, Galen Foley writes a like big, beautiful, like verbose, massive, like it's just like the prose is extravagant. The stories are like giant and have massive feelings. Like there's somebody's always almost dying. Like everything's chaotic in these books. They are a sort of perfect example of a very particular time in romance where like authors were allowed to have 600 pages to just like run. And at the end. He breastfeeds from her.
I was wondering where this was all going. I thought you were going to say he bodyguards her.
Listen,
and
he does bodyguard
her
her.
tits.
But, like,
Fine.
I mean, but he, like, listen, again, a moment that I remember. I can remember I was sitting on the grass in my backyard growing up, reading this book, like, thoroughly delighted that I was reading this historical, which came out, I mean, I don't know, sometime in the 90s. Oh no, it didn't. It came out in 2007. No, that's not true. It didn't come out.
No, you got to look at Goodreads for this.
Right. No, because
you're gonna get, if you look at Amazon, it'll get some weirdo. You're like, listen, last week I was wrong about Coldplay, but I was not wrong about the princess.
I am not wrong about the princess. No, 1999. I was sitting. It must have been summer. I was sitting in my parents' backyard, and this man.
Sure.
He breastfed from her, and I was like, whoa, what is this? Except I wasn't like, what is this? Because I had experience.
You'd already read Bertree
I'd been
Small
through Bertree
and Sandra
Small.
Brown.
And Sandra Brown. I knew it happened. But for some reason, like, listen, this is one of those. So enjoy yourselves, everybody. Have a great time. Galen Foley doesn't write romances anymore, and now she writes fantasy.
Oh.
Straight up fantasy under a different name.
I don't know what that is.
I'll put it in show notes, everybody.
I'll put it in show notes, that little mystery. Huh, okay.
Yeah.
I read a lot of Galen Foley back in the day, but I don't have a lot of strong. I mean, I think the thing of, and you too will get to this point, everybody. You read this many romances and you're like, yeah, I definitely read a lot of that person. I don't remember it. And if I sat down and started rereading it, I'm sure it would all come back to me.
Yep.
Like, oh, I've read this.
Yep. Oh, no, she does write under Galen Foley. The first book in the series, I think, is called Paladin's Prize.
That sounds familiar to me. Okay, maybe just Paladin. Who knows?
Enjoy yourselves, everybody.
This week's episode of Fated Mates is brought to you by Hunter Snow, author of Gone Country.
So Jamie Keaton is a rock star with a reputation. She is thought to be fiery and fierce, just like her songs, and she was never supposed to come into the path of, let alone collide with, Clayton Langley, who is a country singer who epitomizes Southern charm. But when a chance encounter forces them to collaborate on a song that becomes an absolute hit, she is suddenly thrust into his universe of cowboy boots and steel string guitars. Problem is, there are some old resentments here between the two of them, as well as an undeniable chemistry simmering just beneath the surface. And Jamie's going to have to decide whether to embrace the unfamiliar world of country music she's been dragged into, or to stoke the fire of their rivalry and watch the whole thing burn down.
Ooh, well, it sounds like Jamie likes to burn things down, but in this case, I think love is going to temper that urge. And for those of you who think this sounds like a really fun book, know that our author, Hunter Snow, survived a career in the music industry herself. So she is now living to tell its tales in the pages of her books. If you would like to check out Gone Country, it is available in print, ebook, or with your monthly subscription to Kindle Unlimited. You can click on the chapter title right now to be taken to buy the book if your podcast app supports it. Thanks to Hunter Snow for sponsoring this week's episode. All right, so let's talk about bodyguarding as a trope, Sarah.
This is where I get real basic. Like, I don't have a lot to say short of, like, I want a man to throw himself in front of a bullet for me. Like, I want to be like, I'd rather be dead than have you be dead.
I think there you go. All right. Now
an episode over.
Trope. No. You know, it was interesting because I agree. I think it is a very primal trope, right? Like whatever, if you don't have this in you, you just don't like this trope, and that's all there is to it. I don't think there's any way to like make it this way. And it's funny because I attempted a bunch of newer ones. I found some that I really liked. My journey to sort of like always be reading for these episodes and trying to like find new books has been sometimes successful and sometimes not. And in one of the books I sort of discarded, I don't even remember the title or the name anymore. It was funny because someone in one of like the reviews of it had sort of mentioned that one of the things they like about it was that it like dealt with the inherent problem of the trope. And I was like, what are they about to say?
Is the problem in the room with us?
And the problem is that like it's just like there's such a power imbalance. And I was like, yeah, that's what makes it great. You know what I mean?
Oh, because he works for her.
Yeah, or like he's going to die. Like this person has to be willing to die for the other person, but the reverse is not the case. And I was like, yeah, that's what makes it great. I'm sorry that the power imbalance is what makes it great. And since it is almost always, obviously, we're talking about, I mean, there are a lot. I actually read a great gay romance that was a bodyguard romance, but like if the whole point is that like she is the one being bodyguarded, and I can think of a few that are not that, then like that's the whole point. Like that's the whole fucking point, everybody. So I just kind of found myself wandering away from that little bit of thought. But I did find myself thinking, I mean, if you don't like bodyguard romance, that might be why, right? Like maybe you want it to be more equitable, or you don't want it to be that. And I am a big piece of garbage blowing around your street, knocking on your door, thinking, yeah, it's kind of hot.
Okay, it is hot. Empirically, it's hot. And let me tell you why. Because this whole power balance conversation, like my question for that person is, have you ever read a good bodyguard romance? Because
yeah, right.
Like, yes, okay, fine. She works for him. I'm sorry, he works for her in this gendered version, right? Like, however, he is so powerful, like physically, like his strength and cunning and like insight, and he has so many. I mean, these are men who are kings.
Yes.
Because I read like 4. I meant to read 1, and then I read 4 of this series. I read Cynthia Eden's Bodyguard series, or 4 of them. And I mean, like, these are men who like, every one of them is like former Green Beret. Every one of them is like incredibly brilliant, a tech genius, like extremely skilled at like reading people, very protective, like will like level a villain. The moment he gets his hands on a villain, like that villain is knocked the fuck out. And so while I understand the like innate power difference, I also think like that can be like really, really well evened out by both physical power, like mental acuity, and in the case of these Cynthia Eden books, like a tremendous amount of like intelligent, clever plotting.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
So
these often,
I'll get to them, I guess, because we're still talking about like bodyguarding in general, but like this, none of the books that I read were like, and he was hired to protect her. Although I'm fine with that too.
The promise of the premise is like, right, like the bodyguard is going to be like physically physical. That's like my job, is to physically guard you, like to keep your body safe, literally, right? But a really good, like an expectation I have of this trope is that the guarded person, right, will find a way to protect something in the bodyguard that they did not know needed protecting, some like soft part of them, right? And so it's like, I don't know if that makes sense, right? So it's like, and so the bodyguard like enters into the story or enters into the text as being like, I'm the one who is like strong and capable and, you know, like all these things. I don't need protecting. I am the protector. And yet somehow by the end of it, there's like some softness that is revealed by the other person, right? And so like the change, the bodyguard doesn't just like sort of start out awesome and end up awesome. I mean, they can stay that way, but like part of the character arc for the bodyguard is like learning to like let go of something that they themselves are either protecting about them, right? I don't know. So it does feel like the emotional breakdown component I expect, like the guarded person is broken down at the beginning, but the bodyguard has to break down by the end.
Yes.
Right?
Also, yes, and the best part of these books is when the person who is being guarded ends up like protecting the bodyguard.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
That's the best part.
And that's why I was like,
that's the part that I like.
Yeah.
If it's not in there, I don't want it.
Right. And that's the part I think that like that's why I kind of was like, well, yeah, there's the power balance at the beginning so that when we see them being protected at the end, we understand that they've never been in this position. You know what I mean? Like, of course, It has to, that's how the trope works, right? So it was just like a really interesting comment. And, you know, I'm sure this person is just like a throwaway comment for them, but I found myself really like thinking about it. Like, wait, but that's kind of how it has to work. You have to have the imbalance in order for the pendulum to like swing to the other side.
Yes. I'm going to say something that you're maybe not going to like.
Oh.
I know.
Me or our listeners?
You, Jennifer.
Oh, no.
So, I mean, maybe not. We'll see. But here's what I'm going to suggest.
Okay.
Because we have seen over the last like couple of years this kind of rise in stalker romances. And I think there's something in there that is... So I have read a handful of them. Everybody knows that like
if
first of all, everybody knows that I'm much more willing to walk into the water than Jen is on these books. But like they just don't do it for me. Right. And I think they don't do it for me for lots of reasons. But what's interesting to me about the ones that sort of edge toward doing it for me. Right.
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
Are the ones where he like the stalker is also protector. Right. And it's because, listen, I don't think stalkers should be romance heroes. However, I think that there is something in the like DNA of a number of these books that is like asking for readers to thread that particular needle, to like connect those particular dots and say like, okay, he's like a bad dude, but also like there's a worse dude and he's going to protect her from that worse dude. Whether or not this works fundamentally as a romance novel, capital R, capital N, is a different conversation. But I think like there's something in there too of like this like protector as a concept. If it's non-consensual, that's a different thing, right? Then it's not a bodyguard, but go on.
I think that you are correct. I think that back like in the
Nero.
day.
Not Nero.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nero. No, Hans.
Yeah, sure. Back in the day, you mean when he like goes to Mexico or whatever to follow her?
Yeah. He's also watching her. He's got all those cameras in her room.
He goes into her house. Does he have cameras in her house? I don't remember.
Whatever it is, his cameras, he's watching that.
He's watching her. Sure. Right. Okay.
And he's like, granted, like the way S.J. Tilly, it's S.J. Tilly, right? The way S.J. Tilly sort of like threads the needle on Hans is like, he sort of accidentally watches her. And then it's like, then she starts to bring him bad food. And then he's like, I'm kind of obsessed with her. Like, it's like he's stalkering light, right?
I would have to check. I don't think he has cameras in her house. He does break into her house when she's not there and like locks her windows and shit. Yes, that's true. I don't think he has installed cameras into her home.
No, but like when she accidentally crossbows somebody in the backyard.
Oh, that's right. He has cameras on the exterior, but
it's
I know. I'm like, we're trying to break this down.
Listen, I'm certainly not going to be the one to complain about this. I have no legs to stand on. However, like, this is what I mean. I'm talking about that kind of book.
Well, and what I was going to say is, back in the day, for those of you who are new to the romance game, there used to be a shit ton, and maybe there still are in some pockets, some like romance pockets of cops as romance heroes. And I feel like and it's very interesting to me that like we don't get that anymore.
It's much rarer. You still see it in small town, but yeah.
But the sheriff or whatever. But I think that what you are describing, I think it's like, how like a tsunami, like, the Earth's crust move and then all the water rushes in and rushes back out.
Mm-hmm.
I think that like when cops got removed,
stalkers were put in.
Because it was like, well, okay, but we still want to have this like
surveillance, kind of conceptual.
Yeah, like it's the police state, but it's like romance heroes.
Well, I mean, now we're going to end up down a rabbit hole, but whatever. It's our podcast. We can. Everybody, you have choices.
Go listen to Femme Fatale. I hear that one's great.
In the immortal words of one of my very favorite BBC commentators, other channels are available.
Yeah, this podcast is free, is how I like to say it. Okay.
But I think what's interesting, so did you ever watch, you must have, how have we not, we must have talked about this episode, this movie, but the Dennis Quaid, Ellen Barkin movie, the one in
New Orleans?
In New Orleans. What's it called?
I don't know. I love that movie, though. It's hot. He's crazy now, though.
So good. Okay, it's called The Big Easy, of course.
Duh. Like, of course. Also from the 90s, probably also from around when the Bodyguard was it.
Listen, 1986. And here's what I would say about this movie is this movie came in the imperial period of like the erotic thriller.
Yes.
Like movies were sexy as fuck in the late 80s and early 90s. Like also that like Madonna one with Willem Dafoe.
Yep.
And the one with Sharon Stone.
Everything with Sharon Stone and Glenn Close. I
don't know what happened, but like those movies were so sexy. And
Kathleen
The Big
Turner.
Easy, first of all, these two are very handsome. He's a police officer he's a detective, and like this is a straight up thriller. Like there is murder, like there's police corruption. I mean, part of why I do like this movie still. I actually recently watched it. Part of why I actually watched it while I was writing Knockout, because police corruption, right, is like there is a corrupt police force and in this movie, and like at least they acknowledge that.
And he's really the part that's like his journey is he's like really unaware of it. Like in the course of the movie, essentially becomes aware of just how corrupt the cops are around him.
And she is an investigator, being threatened by virtue of her trying to clean up the New Orleans Police Department, which I don't know anything about New Orleans today, but I'm guessing, police officers, corruption exists in police departments the world over. But what were we getting at? Oh, but there are these great moments in that movie where they misuse the police funding for like the police budget or like the police resources for him to find her. Like there's that great moment where she's running and she gets pulled over. She gets like basically like picked up by a police officer who's like, well, you didn't stop at the crosswalk over there like you did. You jaywalked. And she's like, get away from me. And he's like, I'm going to call that resisting arrest. And he puts her in the police car and then takes her to a party at Dennis Quaid's house. And then they like do it. Like, and she's fine with it.
Yeah, but I mean, I do think that like
the
whole idea of like the surveillance state stalker is we're not putting cops on page anymore, but like that's basically what these stalkers are. They're just like rogue cops.
Yeah.
And so I think it's sort of filling a very specific niche kind of thing.
Correct. So I guess what we're saying here is we're setting aside, like there is something kind of in our reptilian brain that fires with all of these kind of like protective stories. But we're setting aside stalkers, we're setting aside police officers, and we are specifically focusing on the bodyguard. That is his job. He is hired to do the job, or at least like this is a skill that he's willing to offer for free. I actually don't have that many where he's actually paid. This week's episode of Fated Mates is sponsored by Lumi Gummies.
Consistent, mellow, and super delicious, Lumi gummies are specifically designed to make you feel good, not stoned. Whether you're looking for an end-of-the-day de-stressor, a midday mood boost, or help getting the best sleep ever, Lumi gummies has a strain that's right for you. And for me, I would say a recent experience I had was there's just been a lot going on in the world and I get kind of distracted.
Oh, really?
It's hard to focus. And sometimes I just find myself really, just feeling like there's too much on my plate. And so the other night I was just super stressed. I tried a sativa orange cream cookies gummy to help me sort of just like lock in and just like get in the zone where I could focus on one thing at a time without really feeling overwhelmed by the combination of those tasks and the world and my worries. So it was just like a really great way for me to just kind of just remember, like, I don't have to go through this on my own.
Yeah, I mean, they are very good at making you just like chill out. So Lumi gummies are available nationwide. You can go to lumigummies.com. That's LUMI gummies.com and use the code FATEDMATES for 30% off your order. Again, that's LUMI gummies.com, code FATEDMATES. If you're interested, you can click on the chapter title right now to be taken to the Lumi Gummies website to learn more about the gummy experience. Again, that's lumigummies.com, code FATEDMATES. Thanks, as always, to Lumi Gummies for sponsoring this week's episode.
So I have some, they're kind of like on a gambit from like kind of straight up traditional Bodyguard to like sort of some evolution in like the relationship. So I thought maybe we'd start off with the ones that are just like pure Bodyguard and kind of like go from there.
Yeah, sure.
So I'm going to start with Wyoming Bodyguard by Danielle Haas. This is a Harlequin, either romantic suspense or Harlequin intrigue. I don't remember what they're called now. It just came out this week. Or at the end of last month, at the end of July. And what I liked about this one is, well, everybody knows, everybody, if you're just like, what is the purest distilled form of trope? What is happening with it in a Harlequin, right?
A Harlequin,
in a category
Correct.
romance. Now, some of this is romance reasons. Madam McKay grew up in this small Wyoming town, and his family owned a local ranch. And he went to the military. When he has returned home, and his family has essentially been kind of is being ignored or like shunned by everyone else in town because they have sold part of their land to a developer. And that developer has like built a hotel and built like kind of like dude ranch stuff, but it's all like none of it's local. And so everybody is like, how dare, right? And he has come back to this town and nobody knows like the real reason that they had to sell the land. And he's like too kind of proud and a little also like, fuck you to these people. But he really does like love his community. This is where he grew up. So this is where he's starting his like security firm with like his friend. Now I'm like, what is there to secure? I don't know, but whatever. That's the plot. And Lily Tremont, her family owned the adjoining ranch, and they own like a dude ranch. They have like guest cottages. And the thing that has happened is with the selling of the McCabe farm, her family's ranch is now kind of almost going out of business, right? Like, so these developers are like undercutting everybody's local businesses. And what happens is, like he goes into the local bar, he's going to buy a round of drinks. He's kind of like, I have to just like do what I have to do to get the people kind of back on my side, when he hears shots fired from outside. And it is someone is shooting at Lily's father, right? So Lily and her dad were walking to the car, like a truck, goes by and shoots at them like it's like a drive-by shooting. And he like stays with her, and she is just like kind of really shitting him. She's so angry about what is happening to her family business. But she also trusts him at some level because he is like an expert, right? So she hires him, like straight up hires him to like essentially protect her, because like then they go back to her house that night after being with her dad in the hospital all day. Someone has broken into the house and has been looking through the office and like, right. So clearly they are in danger, and she thinks, and her father is kind of had been acting suspicious. She wasn't sure what. And so like the two of them are going to work together. But the kind of the trick here is she says, I don't want you to just protect me. I want you to also figure out why this is happening. And he is like, but I'm not an investigator. I'm not a cop. Right.
Okay. Yeah.
And she's like, I don't care. You know people around here better than anybody. And, you know, like, I believe in you. And it turns out that, you know, he and his friend were like SEALs or some shit like that. And along with, you know, a water landing, they could also investigate a crime. Who knew? So and you know what, Sarah, this book is very great. It is perfectly plotted. It is right, really like boom, it hits the ground running. You know all the players, all the setup, and what I like about it is Lily asking his business was kind of floundering, and her saying like maybe you can investigate too. Coincidentally, in the state of Wyoming, you don't need a PI license. Is going to be the
how
thing.
very lucky.
How lucky. I don't know if that's real, everybody.
And here it is. This is how we learn about things.
Yes. Watch out, Final Jeopardy.
That's going to come up at some point. Somebody's going to be talking about Wyoming to me. And I'm going to be like, well, you know, you don't need a private investigator's license in Wyoming. And they're going to go, really? And I'm going to go, yep. And that is how false. Like, hopefully that's correct.
It was a great Bodyguard romance. Like, it just really hit all the beats. And because the bodyguarding was about, like, not something she had done, I think that was also a nice touch. She had no idea why her father was being targeted, why their ranch is being targeted, until they go out and find like meth in like the storage shed. I'm not kidding. That's like a bit of a spoiler, but fine.
Okay,
that's
fine.
all I'll say.
Sure.
So anyway, it's great. Wyoming Bodyguard by Danielle Haas.
All right. Nice. Well, I'm going to talk, because I already sort of teased it, but I want to talk about Cynthia Eden. So I've talked about Cynthia Eden before. I think she is like really like a top-notch romantic suspense writer. And I think because like it's unfortunate because like I think romantic suspense had like such a massive dip that she doesn't get the kind of constant attention she really does deserve. So she talk about a person who like knows how to thread a plot. I want to talk about the Wild Ways series, Wild with an E. The first book of which is called Protecting Piper, and I'm calling it out because it is free always. And so you can go get it for free in E and learn about Eric and Piper. She is his younger brother's best friend. And he has wanted her, like these two have had it's another one, long-standing crushes on each other, but like she's convinced that he like can't stand her. He never talks to her. Like, you know the vibe. And it's because he's just so freaking into her. And then he basically like somebody is stalking her. Somebody is like breaking into her house, and her brother basically goes to him and is like, Piper needs help. And so he's like an ex-Green Beret or an ex-Army Ranger, I don't know, one of them. And he owns this like, it's so romance. He owns this like top-notch security firm where he's basically a celebrity too. Like everyone knows Eric Wilde. And I'm like, all right, yeah, okay.
Why not?
And he's like, I gotta move into your house. I gotta live with you. And also let's fuck. It's great. So anyway,
that's the plot.
That's my description. And then like, no, she's also being stalked. But like the pages, listen, did I tear through this book? 1,000%. Did I read 4 more books in the series? 1,000%.
Right.
I have no complaints. But the one, especially because the one I want to talk about is called, I'm just giving you all Protecting Piper because it's free. And also, like, it's great. But I want to talk about The Bodyguard Next Door.
Amazing title.
Which, here's the thing. When I'm reading romantic suspense, so there are 2 kinds of romantic suspenses out there. And I will say, I read one.
Wait, what are the 2 kinds of romantic suspense?
Red is a kind word for what I did for the first one, because it was an MMF or an MFM, whatever, a poly romance. And like the beginning of it was like, the woman is in his office made his cock hard. And it was like he hadn't had a woman in
Oh,
a
5
year.
minutes.
And I was like, oh my
One of
God.
these.
And like it was him and his like business partner. And she was like I don't know what. I don't want to give too much away because I don't like, as you all know, like we don't like to like rag on books. But the point is that we've all read this book. It's sort of like there's somebody following the woman because they need a reason for the pages to turn, and like basically it's just like a reason for these three to just hide out in a cabin somewhere and fuck for 300 pages. And there is a time and a place for those books.
All the time.
I mean,
all the time.
But I did put that down because I was like, now is not the time or the place for this book, because I too am trying to like read for every episode. And so I was like, well, this is not going to be it. But the way, and then the other one is like, there's an actual story, like an actual plot that's happening. And then the like romance is happening around it. I know that this feels like that's how it should be, but with romantic suspense, it's not always. Like,
yeah, you never know.
Especially when it's like she's in danger. Like from what? From like some random person who you don't know about until like 300 pages in, right? And it's usually her ex-husband. This is not the case for this book. So this is the bodyguard next door. So the heroine here is an art forger.
Ooh.
And yeah, cool, right? So we meet the hero and the heroine. Like she lives in like some like fancy, she lives in like a warehouse, like a lofted warehouse or warehouse loft in a city unknown. And he, the hero, is a partner in this like firm, this wild security firm. And he has rented the loft next door. So they are the only two people who live on this floor of the warehouse. And we meet them where he's like moving in with his buddies, helping him like bring a couch in. And he is like, he has like met the neighbor, and he is like wildly into her, extraordinarily attracted to her, but like she's made it really clear that like they're just going to be friends. And so he's just like, oh, this is like, I love being her, like I want to know her, I want to be around her, like I want her in my life, but like it's killing me that like we can't. She's like really said, no, we're just going to be friends. Cut to her, and she of course is like, oh my God, I love him so much. Like, and you're like, listen, these two dummies, I cannot wait for them to get their shit together. So, but she's an art forger. And so we learn really quickly, like, why she is not able to like have a relationship, because she's an art forger who is in witness protection because her father was an art forger before her, and he trained her to be like she basically can paint a Monet that no one realizes like without technology is not a Monet, right?
Big Thomas Crown Affair vibes.
Thomas Crown Affair vibes. But so what happened what comes to pass is you discover that when they were young, when she was a teenager, she and her father and her brother were kind of like mixed up with some kind of art crime forgery ring, and they would go into places, they would steal the master, leave her forgery on the wall, and then like beat the hell out of Dodge, right? So her father was killed, she turned state's evidence, and then she was put into the witness protection program. Well, the book begins, and like in chapter 2, I don't even think it's chapter 2, like the end of chapter 1, boom, a baddie shows up, and it turns out she's been found. Like she's been found by the like people who ran the ring a million years ago, and they need her to like do another forgery, right? And they basically like they're threatening her, they're threatening her brother. There's like the FBI is involved. The FBI is like, you have to do it because like then we'll get the information that we need. And of course, the whole time, the next door neighbor, who is a bodyguard, is like, she does nothing without me. I'm her bodyguard. And so like she even like signs a contract for him. She's like, I think I should have a contract. And he's like, fine. So like he gives her a contract, but like never takes a penny from her. Like he's obsessed with her. They like I don't know. I mean, like they have sex like in a bad guy's house. It's great. It's really fun. And the truth is that like the pages keep turning because you're like, okay, like an art forger heroine is something like really interesting. She gets kidnapped at one point, like with him. Like he's like, I'm going with her because I go with her. And they like get dropped off in this like house where she has to like do a forgery of a Monet within 24 hours. And like, it's just like the plot moves along really quickly. It reminded me reading actually all of the Cynthia Eden books in this series reminded me of like reading a really tight romantic suspense from like the early thousands or like the late 90s, like just where like the plot is really perfectly structured and the beats of the book are just like terrific.
So fun.
Yeah. These go down real easy. You're going to want to read them all. You're going to have a great time. This week's episode of Fated Mates is sponsored by 1001 Dark Nights, publishers of the Duty and Desire collection of uniformed heroes and bodyguard stories by Aurora Rose Reynolds, Kristen Ashley, Kylie Scott, and Rebecca Zanetti. Oof. What a foursome.
I know. So Duty and Desire is a collection that brings you heroes in uniform, right? Bodyguards, soldiers, law enforcement, people who do whatever it takes to protect the ones they love. These are books that are filled with action, danger, and of course, steamy romance. Closer by Kylie Scott is part of the Stage Dive series and features essentially they have like a new neighbor. She's a supermodel and she needs someone to be her bodyguard. It's really sexy. The Rebecca Zanetti story is another one that I really love. And this is the one where we have Noah, who is a vampire soldier. Hello. So these are books that are really going to explore what it means to protect people you love or to be protected. And of course, these are often stories that prove that sometimes the greatest battles are fought with the heart. As always, you might know one or two of these authors, but it's a great way of exploring some new authors to you as you hang out with some of your old faves.
So, if you think you would love to try this Uniformed Heroes and Bodyguard collection, Duty and Desire just might be for you. You can collect it right now on Kindle or in paperback. And if your podcasting app supports it, you can click on the chapter title right now to be taken to buy the book. Thanks as always to 1001 Dark Nights for sponsoring this week's episode.
I have one that's also like best friends, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Brother or whatever. And I feel like it's really common in these bodyguard tropes because it's just such a shortcut to like to emotional entanglement, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, here is the bodyguard who's like, I just don't feel feelings and I don't feel ways about my thing. But if it's,
but this is somebody I know,
right,
and care
exactly,
about,
and therefore it just ends up being a little bit different. Although the one I have, okay, so I'm going to talk about one that has best friend's brother. This is a gay romance by Annabeth Alpert. It's called Tough Luck, and this is the first book in the A-list security series. And in this series, Annabeth is really like, I'm going to take these retired Navy SEALs and turn them into bodyguards. And you know what? How smart you are. I love
what
your
else
mind.
are you going to do with them? They have a particular set of skills.
Exactly. I love your mind. So in Tough Luck, which is the first one, Cash is the SEAL, and he's like in his late 30s. So he's, put in his 38, maybe put in his 20 years. Another thing I know from romance, which is, 20 years in the military means you get to retire. Everybody, I'm not sure that that's true. I said that. I was joking. Maybe that's true. Maybe it's not. But in this case, he's out of the SEALs and he's not really sure what he's going to do next. And so his friend has a security, like a bodyguard company, a security company or whatever. And he's actually just like crashing with his friend for a while. And the book opens with the friend, who I don't remember his name, to be honest with you. Sorry, everybody. Is like, my brother Danny is in trouble. And he won't admit that it's trouble. He won't talk to us about it, but he said enough to make me realize that there's something going on. But I have to fly off to do bodyguarding business as the owner of this firm. Will you go check on him? To which Cash says, of course. So Cash, gets in his car and like drives up to Danny's house in the Hollywood Hills. And Danny, now Daniel, right, who's like in his mid-20s, so like there's an age gap here, was some kind of like really famous actor on like a big TV series for years. And he went through recovery. He was addicted to alcohol and drugs. He is not really acting anymore, but because of how much money he made, he has bought this big house up in the Hollywood Hills. And Cash is like, this fucking idiot, I just drove right up to the house. Like, there's no gates there, right? So he immediately is sort of thinking like, I'm gonna have to tell his brother about like how poorly protected this, like his house is, his home. And, he gets there and he sort of like it's actually a really funny scene. He rings the buzzer and he'd stopped along the way to pick up some breakfast sandwiches. And, Danny's voice comes through the buzzer like, hello, just leave it at the door. And Cash says, this is Cash. And Danny thinks he has ordered some other delivery. And he's like, I don't have any cash. So he just buzzes. I don't know. Somehow then the door just opens and Cash walks to like the courtyard to find Danny doing yoga, but he's naked. And I just was like, you know what? If
Love this for
I
everyone.
owned a house in Hollywood Hills, I probably too would also do yoga naked out in my yard, because why wouldn't you? So it turns out that Danny has someone who kind of stalking him. And it started out in social media DMs, but it had escalated to being like kind of a scary, like something scary with some photographs. And then, okay, so, Cash is sort of like, why don't you put on a robe? Like, what's going on here? It's great. And then the real delivery person comes. So this is, 15 minutes later or whatever. And she is freaking out because there is like a dead rat on the gate. And so in that interim point of time, right, like essentially the stalker has arrived and Cash is like, and Danny really freaks out and is very vulnerable. Like, I kind of wanted to play this off, but clearly it's a big deal. So Cash and Danny like go to the local Home Depot to get stuff to, like there's no security camera. And Danny admits that it had worked when he moved in, but he didn't replace it once it went down. And Cash was like, well, did you bother to think that maybe the stalker was the one who, you know what I mean? So they go to the Home Depot and they, get a bunch of stuff to, like sort of shore up the property, whatever. I'm like, whatever. And actually it's great because Cash is like, I know what to do at Home Depot. And Danny is like, I don't know what to do at Home Depot. What is all this shit? Right? It's great. And what happens then that escalates things really fast is that when they get back to the house within, and they're like doing stuff or whatever, within a couple of hours, they get photographs from the stalker who had been inside the house after Cash and Danny left. So the stalker is now photographing themselves inside Danny's home. And so Cash was like, well, we have to go someplace private, like my friend's cabin in the woods. And there they go. Now, the part I liked about this, the part back to my whole, like, the bodyguarder, right? Like, Cash is like, I'm not taking any money. I'm just doing this as a favor for a friend. You are really freaked out and I don't know what to do with myself. And so I'm going to do this. It's not about money. The part that's really interesting is even though Danny is younger, Cash is very like inexperienced with like almost to the point where Danny's like, are you on like the ace spectrum? Are you demisexual? Like, right. Like sort of trying to like kind of figure out like, well, what is it? And Cash is like, I have had sex with a couple of women, but I maybe admit I am attracted to men, but it was safer for me in the military to not really explore that. And so I just kind of haven't. And so even though there is an age gap, the experience gap runs the other way, with Danny being the one who's far more comfortable with himself sexually and is the one who says to Cash, like, I think we should kiss and it's going to be hot. And it was, everyone, it was. So
Perfect.
That's Tough Luck by Annabeth Albert.
She's good.
She's so good.
Oh, I want to talk about The Billionaire's Bodyguard by Emma Hawley. So Emma Hawley has written a series. It's like she has a billionaire series. Like it feels like everybody has a billionaire series. But in this one, so this is the last in her billionaire series. And the hero is a Hollywood action hero. His name is Luke. And he is like known as, he's like charming and funny and all his fans love him and he's always kind to his fans and like everything is great and he just happens to hit the jackpot and now he's a billionaire because of romance reasons. And he has what I'm sure many people in Hollywood who are huge celebrities have, which is like he has a stalker. And though he is not like 100% sure, he doesn't really take it super seriously to begin with. He has started to realize that like this is actually getting very serious. Like this person is in fact a pretty significant danger. So AJ, the heroine of this book, has like there's a prologue in this book where AJ is young and she's just like it's just obvious from the jump that like she just wants to be like a protector, a defender, like tough guy. Like she's of course she's a bodyguard. So she is is a former police officer and now she's a bodyguard and she's been hired by Luke to essentially like save his life and keep him safe. And I believe that like in an earlier, I've not read all of these books, but I think like in a past book, she did in fact save his life. This is another romantic suspense. Like there is a real sense of like, there is a like true threat to Luke. There are several moments where he is under threat and AJ is working to keep him safe, but also this is a good example of what we were talking about in the beginning where like the power differential is very clearly like AJ has an immense amount of power in these books, despite the fact that like he's obviously the one with the money, the one with the looks, the one with the fear, the one with the everything, right? And I think that is because Emma doesn't let go of the idea that like this woman has a technical skill that is unmatched. And so like I think this could easily have fallen into the competence porn episode because like AJ, like this was AJ's calling. And so she doesn't hesitate to get in there when she needs to. And like her skill and power in this book is very clear. And it really reads great. The book is also like, you know, if you've read any Emma Hawley books before, like it's very sexy. These two are just hot together. I know, Jen, you love it when like two people who are very hot have like acrobatic sex.
I do.
Sure. There is a strength between these two that is really terrific. And I actually really enjoyed like there are a couple of moments where the like classic bodyguard trope is flipped really well on its head. And I had a great time. I had a great time reading it. I think, and I did download one of those other billionaires books for the plane.
Sure, why not? Sexy Dangerous by Beverly Jenkins is one of my favorite. She's the bodyguard. I'm sure we've talked about this book before. Also fun if you've only read Bev's historicals to like sort of dive into some of her contemporaries. I think Beverly Jenkins really likes a bodyguard. I feel like a lot of her books have that like vibe.
Yeah.
And then she has
gender swap bodyguards.
Yeah.
Too.
And then like Rare Danger, which is one of her more recent contemporaries, is not gender swapped. But he's the bodyguard, but I think also is like a woman who needs a bodyguard. So, you know, I think a lot of her books have that, like, again, the protector vibe. Okay. I feel like I just jumped in there with one I wasn't planning to talk about, but I am going to go on to talk about A bodyguard romance now where like the bodyguard has bad intentions.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Burn Dreams by Neva Altage. I like this series. You've heard me talk about it because I read them all this year. In this one, this is like the 6th or 7th book in the series. Alessandro works for the mob, but throughout the course of like the previous 5 or 6 books, we realize that he has had like in a previous life had like worked as like a government assassin. And he got out of that life. They all thought he was like dead, right? Like sort of, I can't remember which book it's revealed. Like that guy like worked with him and he's like, yeah, but Oz, he's, too bad he died in that fire. But then this guy is like watching something happen on TV and he's like, the only person who could have set a fire like that was Oz, right? And so then we get his book many books later. And so in this one, Alessandro, right? He's our bodyguard. He has worked for like the head of the New York Mafia for however long, and he has been essentially reassigned to help out one of the like underbosses to protect that guy's wife. This guy has had several bodyguards watching his wife, and he has not been happy with any of them. And part of the reason that he agrees to take Alessandro on is because no one has ever seen him with a woman. And so they all assume that means that maybe he's gay. And it is not that. It is that Alessandro instead had a beloved wife who was killed. He was actually, this is back when he was an assassin. He was like planning their escape from like the world of like being essentially forced to work for this like evil assassin runner. And the day that he was going to like finally, he and his wife, and they were like young, right? We're going to like run away and kind of like be free. She was killed in a hit and run accident. And he has made it his life's work to figure out who killed her. And it turns out that he like, right. So like he then spends years like trying to figure out who did it. And it turns out that it's the husband who's like looking to protect his wife. So Alessandro is like, I'm going to take this job. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to kill the wife. Her name's Ravenna, as revenge for the fact that this man killed my wife.
Sure. Classic.
So the whole...
that makes perfect romance sense.
And you know what, Sarah, it does. So he is like, I'm going to kill her. And then I'll kill him, but I'll make sure I kill her first. So he is tortured. But once he gets into the household, he can tell that there's something very wrong. And at first he reads Ravenna's, the way she's, she won't even look at him. She's very cold to him. He thinks she's just like snooty. She's just like stuck up mob wife who thinks she's better than everybody else. But he starts to figure out that she actually is being abused by her husband. She was forced into this marriage and she's never loved him. He essentially essentially threatened her family. Like, you have to marry me or else I'm going to kill your mom and your brother. And so now listen, if you're one of those people who's like, I cannot stand any cheating in my romance books, you probably will not like this because she and Alessandro end up falling in love while she is still married. But to her, it was never a marriage, right? She was forced to marry this man. And so, anyway, of course, Alessandro's like, oh, fuck, now I'm in love with her. What am I going to do? How am I going to get my revenge? Damn it. And it's a great story. So I really liked it because I do think the bodyguard having ill intent or bad intentions is interesting to me because then it's like, what's going to cause them to change and do the right thing, right? Which is to literally then really protect her. So then there are times when, she is under threat for whatever reason because her husband's like a real jackass. And he's like, I could have let her die, but no, I just save her. It's fucking great. Sarah, it's like real, as you said, classic romance reasons bullshit throughout, but I loved it. It was great.
I mean, this is the thing is romance. Romance reasons are plenty fine.
Yeah. Right.
It's amazing.
Amazing. So that's Burned Dreams.
I talked about Kelly Bowen when we did competence porn, and I talked about the first book, I think, in this series, but now I want to talk about the second book in this series, which is A Duke to Remember, which is, in fact, a bodyguard romance, again, with a heroine as a bodyguard.
Yeah, I remember this one.
So the premise here is that Elise, our heroine, is this like remarkable person. She is the co-owner of Shigar and Associates, the agency that is basically designed as a fixer agency for anybody in high society who is like has a problem, like dead body in your house. Call them. Like your girl can't get married, call them. Like they have like a group of people with special talents. Anyway, Elise, it works undercover for them. She is also an actress, which makes it so that she is very good at like chameleoning in and out of situations. She's very good at disguise, all of these things. And she's like, I think if you were to like make a list of, I think one of the things about historical is like often just heroines just shine. And this is a perfect example of a heroine who just like, she shines. So she is asked to go out and find Noah Ellery, who is a missing duke. And they know that he is still alive. They know that he is in the wind. They don't know where he is. And like, she's on the hunt for him. So she heads out, and this is because of like inheritance reasons. So Noah is like out living in the country. He has made like a whole life for himself. He like, nobody out there knows, I love a secret duke. Nobody out there knows who he is or that he's a real duke. And she sort of turns up and finds him. And she is like, okay, I need to get you back to London. And also, by the way, you're in pretty big danger. And he's like, well, I don't want to go. Like, he's kind of a jerk about it to begin with. And then she's like, no, we have to do this. And she's like, and it'll be fine because you have me. And he's like, I don't want you to have any part of this. Like, we are not doing this, like pure exasperated man vibes. And she's like, no, I'm going because I'm your bodyguard. And he's like, listen, this is perfect because he is like, you, a woman, are my bodyguard? Like, impossible. Surely you are the one who requires a bodyguard. I am a secret duke and very brawny and burly, as I have been working the fields for all of these years.
I've been working with horses.
And she's like, motherfucker, there are assassins after you. Like, people want to kill you because a dead duke makes for good money in the long run. And he's like, surely you cannot. Like, you don't have the skills for this. Also, I'm not sure you're telling the truth. So what ensues is like a really fun, exasperated man meets like brilliant woman. There is a sense of like danger because there are these people following them. There are these people after Noah. And there's just like, it's a delightful historical because by the end you're sort of like, oh, like now they get to be together and like exasperate all of society together.
Yeah.
And it's really fun. I saw somebody online talk about how that episode brought them to Kelly Bowen and that they were now like down the Kelly Bowen rabbit hole.
They're
and
so
all
good.
I can say is like, if you haven't tried Kelly and you are a historical reader and you're looking for like new voices in historical, Kelly doesn't write historicals anymore, or she doesn't write historical romance anymore, but you're gonna have a great time.
Okay, I have one more. How many more do you have?
I could do one more.
Okay. And this one is one where he's like not really actually officially the bodyguard, but I feel like he's doing bodyguarding things.
Sure.
So and I there's a reason I picked it. So it's Ace of Hearts by Renee Rose. And check your content warnings on this one because I'll get into it, but just like know this is like a book you wouldn't, my like goofy description is not going to really capture something pretty serious about this plot. So Pepper is like a rock star, right? She's young, she's like wildly famous, but she's also her manager in conjunction with her parents have essentially like made really dumb decisions about her money, so much so that they are like in deep to the mob. And so they have to, this is part of that series, Renee's series that I learned about from Joanna, that's like set in Vegas with like mobsters. Yep. And I think this is like a very light touch mafia kind of romance. Anyway, so she has, in exchange, like essentially the way she's going to make the money back is by doing like a kind of like a Vegas residency at like a fancy mob owned hotel. The thing that they have not been told, though, is she has been worked so hard by her shitty manager that she has essentially lost her voice, and they are planning to like have her like lip sync these concerts, and she has like lost her creative muse, and you know what I mean? Like essentially, like this manager and her parents have really steered her wrong. And her parents, it's kind of like there's a little bit of a softer reason. Her mom was really sick, but now either way, like everybody's a little complicit in the, like really almost like the way that this woman is not in charge of her own life, her own money, her creative decisions, anything. So Tony is the guy who's essentially like the right-hand man of the mafia guy who's going to like run the show and make sure she does what she is supposed to do. Well, instantaneously, he's like, what the fuck's going on here? Right? Like, and the first concert happens and he's like, you're lip syncing? Like, what the fuck is happening here? Right? And he quickly figures out that like no one is taking care of her. So he's like, I'm going to step in and take care of her. And including like at one point, several points, like telling her actual official bodyguard, buzz off, right? Like he's never doing the job he's supposed to be in. Tony doesn't like it. And right now, I'm going to tell you, this book is mostly, and a lot of them fucking. And I was not mad about it. Like,
perfect.
Very quickly, right? He was like, we're just going to fuck in this airport bathroom the day after I met you, because he, unlike her manager and her parents, takes her to see a doctor about her laryngitis. And the best laryngitis doctor is in Los Angeles, Sarah. Even though they're in Vegas, they're going to get on a plane.
Laryngitis doctor.
That's an actual doctor. I'm a laryngitis doctor. Okay, anyway. So they now, but then there's all these great scenes where like they're like surrounded by fans, and like he figures out that she actually really loves being with her fans and will say things like, just like squeeze my arm when you're ready for me to like kind of chase everybody off. And so he is better at understanding her than anyone else. And then what he figures out is like when they're having sex, she has like a very like stress response in a certain kind of position. And it is through this that she realized actually that she has been like sexually assaulted. And because she was roofied, she doesn't like really have a lot of memories of it. And so it's like kind of like he helps her like figure this out. That's the part where you need to check your content warnings. So it's not like he's her official bodyguard, but he is he does at times like act as her bodyguard, literally, but also it really is about like the care, right? Like, I am going to care for you. But I think this is also one of the few books though that also plays with how terrifying she finds him, right? Like his violence is not just bodyguard violence, it's real violence, right? And so when he figures out who's responsible for hurting her and what she has gone through and the way her family and her manager have not taken care of her, she is really terrified that like that nothing will stop him. So I did think it was really powerful for like, I don't know, like the idea of like, what would a bodyguard with no brakes look like? So it was great.
Nice.
Ace of Hearts by Renee Rose.
Okay, so since we're just talking about books, we're like
bodyguarding, unofficial.
Yeah. Well, no, this is official bodyguarding, but also like a one-handed read, a like top-notch one-handed read. And I'm going to talk about QB Tyler because
of course,
whenever I can talk about QB Tyler, I like to talk about QB Tyler. So QB Tyler, of course, has a bodyguard romance. The book is called Keep Her Safe because obviously.
What else could it be?
Obviously it is. So the premise here is that Shay, the heroine, has been was like a child star, a TV child star, and now she's like she's everything. She's like model slash television star slash like basically like she's on every magazine cover. She's huge. She is at the beginning of this book. So when she turned 18, she was such a massive, massive star. She wanted to have like a place of her own. She wanted to like get out from under her like very strict father or her like domineering manager father's like thumb. And he was like, fine, but you have to have a bodyguard. So this is an age gap romance, everybody. If it's not for you, it's not for you. And so she got this bodyguard who instantly was like, I'm too old for you. You're only 18. And so, I don't know, some number of years passes, 5, 7, some number of years pass, right? Damien, the bodyguard, has been her bodyguard for all of this time. And he is like silent as the grave. Like he's just always there. And the way that QB writes this, God, I love her book so much. Everybody knows that. But so the first, I don't know, 10% of this book, Shay is, so we meet Shay like she has been cheated on by her boyfriend. And like, it's an emotional thing for her. Like she is upset about it. And she like finds out about it. It's like public. It's at a party or something. She walks in on them and like she leaves him and the boyfriend chases her out into the party. And like Damien is just like there. And there's this sort of sense for the first like however long of this book that like Damien is just there, like has always been. And I think this speaks to, we didn't talk about this when we talked about the appeal of bodyguard romances, but like there's that too, the sort of sense that like there is like a constant, steady, safe presence in your life, right? And so like this whole thing happens. She and this boyfriend have been together for like 3 years. He's also a massive celebrity. So like there's the PR of it all is mixed in here. And she basically, there's this great moment like right at the very beginning where she's like, I'm ready to leave. I want to go alone. And Damien's like, cool, let me get my shit, like get in the car. And then he's like, so is that over? And she's like, no, it's not over. Like we've been together for 3 years. And also like, this is business. Like I can't just end it. Like there's PR to be managed. There's like a whole, like, it doesn't work that way for me. And he's like, fuck this shit. Like this guy mistreated you. Like it's my job to protect you. Like you're not safe with him. And she's like, that's adorable, but that's not really like a real thing. And then it like progresses. And then like, there's this great moment where she's like out with a friend and her friend is like, you know, this guy that's always with you, like, you see how he watches you? And she's like, yeah, that's his job. He's supposed to watch me. And the friend is like, hey, idiot.
Not like that, babe.
He wants to do you. And then, like, there's a like, sort of like, it's like the vermouth bottle waved over the martini, a stalker plot in this book where, like, somebody's after Shay. But truly what's going on here at this point is, like, very quickly, Damien and she, like, I mean, this is like an incendiary burn.
Yeah.
Like, these two, once they like actually lock eyes on each other, I mean, he's wanted her forever. And she's just like, suddenly like, oh my God, it's him. It's always been him. And it's great. It's super sexy. I mean, there is a big age gap, but I don't care.
Yeah.
And I have read this book multiple times and I have a great time every time.
See, there you go. Keep her safe, Sarah.
So that is QB Tyler's Keep Her Safe.
She's his baby tonight, you might say. She will always love him. Fine. Just going to bring it right back. Bringing it right back.
She's going to run to him.
Correct.
It's the greatest love at all.
I'm going to watch that tonight. All right, everybody. Listen, season 7.
We should have been working on that. We could have done that. We could have done better. We could have done more Whitney Houston songs.
Yeah. You know what? Sometimes it's, listen, femme fatales. Yeah. Thank you for listening to Femme Fatales. Okay.
No, people are going to want us to watch it for like,
sure.
You know, I don't know. We'll
Put
do
it
a
on your
special
iPad.
episode for the Patreon.
Watch it on the plane. You're going to be on the plane for 800 years, is my understanding.
Listen, we watched Lord of the Rings together this week, which is a lot of hours of movie. But actually, I had a great time. This is a great movie, and Viggo Mortensen
Can get it.
Man, that man can get it. I mean, I've said that for 7 seasons, so it's great. I'm super into it. I feel like we talked about Eastern Promises at some point on this, because that's another one where, I mean, that dark romance girlies, you are sleeping on Eastern Promises.
You know, it's funny because somebody, I was on Blue Sky last week. Like, I love those memes that it's like, what's your most memorable action scene? And I was like, the bathroom scene in Eastern Promises. 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, point is, Viggo Mortensen does a great job in those Lord of the Rings movies. And, but my daughter, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Like, all she wanted was kissing in this movie.
Sure.
Like, she was like,
okay, but where is the kissing?
Where are these dummies going to kiss? And like, she had no interest in Liv Tyler, which I don't blame her, because Liv Tyler just like lays on a bed of fairy dust the whole time. Like, there is like a very strong woman warrior in these movies. And like, poor baby, she doesn't get Viggo. Though she can't be queen.
A man wrote that.
Multiple men wrote it, yes. I will say, somebody came into my DMs on Instagram and was like, there aren't enough women in the Lord of the Rings. And I was like, ma'am, I can't help you with that.
I did not write it.
She was kind of mad at me, I think. And I was like, I'm not a Tolkien. I can't help you.
Listen, part of the reason I read romance is because to like even out the wide disparity in these things in other parts of media. What doesn't make sense
to me is like, if fantasy is like, Lord of the Rings is, men are so into it. There's so many people who are so into Lord of the Rings. Like, why not more kissing?
We get Superman. That's it. 2025, we get one movie with kissing.
The
Superman.
best. Everybody go watch Superman again. It was so good.
And Sinners had some.
Right. I still haven't seen that. I can't watch that on the plane, though, I don't think.
You cannot, because these are men who enjoy eating, Sarah. That's what you need to know about that.
Oh, well, see, nobody told me that. I'm going to move it to the top.
See?
Everybody was like, it's a horror. Nobody told me somebody likes a meal in it.
Somebody likes a meal in it. Okay. Anyway, someone gets directions and instructions on how to do it well. How to be a good eater. How to have
a nice meal.
How to have a nice meal. All right. You got to wrap this up. We're going to get fired by, this
podcast is free.
This podcast is free.
Listen, everybody, I'm Sarah McLean. I'm here with my friend Jen Prokop. We are Fated Mates. We are coming up on the end of season 7 of this bullshit that you come to every week. And we love you for it. Thank you so much. You can listen to us every Wednesday, wherever you get your podcasts. Tell your friends about Bodyguards and why we like them. You can find us online at fatedmates.net. There's a full list of all the books that we talk about, including like information on, say, The Big Easy or The Bodyguard or, whatever fun facts we turn up about Viggo Mortensen this week. If you have Twitter, we're not there.
I was like, whoa.
I know.
If you have Twitter, stop. Get off.
If you have Twitter,
save yourself.
That's where fascists are. You should leave it. Threads and Instagram also probably have fascists, but we are there. Fated Mates Pod. Blue Sky, we're there too. We are Fated Mates there. And if you really like just talking about romance in all forms, come hang out with us on the Discord. To do that, you have to join the Patreon. That you can do at fatedmates.net/Patreon. That gets you access to the Discord where 1,000 other people are just hanging out, talking about romance, and it's kind of fun. You also get a special episode once a month of Jen and me bullshitting about whatever we're thinking about. Whitney Houston. And if you are in the world and thinking about the fall and thinking about election season, stick with us through the fall. We're partnering with Run for Something and the States Project to raise money for down ticket races all around the country to make sure that we can lock in some state level legislatures to ensure that gerrymandering, like what they're trying to do in Texas, doesn't happen in other places. There will be more about that in the fall, and we would love to have you in the fight with us. You can learn more about that at fatedmates.net/fatedstates. And what else, Jen? You doing anything?
Just trying to live, Sarah.
Just trying to live, she says. Sydney area Fated Matesers. I am going to have a meetup on Tuesday, August 26th at a romance bookstore in Sydney. You'll find information about that on our Instagram, and I'm going to pop it in the Discord, everybody. And also, maybe we'll put it in show notes. If this is this episode out before then?
It is. This episode comes out on the 13th. Terrific.
Sounds good. Everybody, I hope to see you in New Zealand and in Australia if you're around for those conferences, and if not, in Sydney on the 26th. And very soon, we are coming at you with season 8.
Wild. We love you all.
Bye.